Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today we are talking to the wonderful team responsible for the hit show Riches. We are going to kick things off by introducing you to the AAFCA members on the call today, starting with our facilitator, Katia Woods in Philadelphia, Al McGee in South Florida, Jill Monroe in Los Angeles, Rhonda Rasha Penrice in Atlanta, Dana Abercrombie in New York, Nancy Green in Baltimore, Reggie Pounder in Chicago, and Carolyn Hines in Toronto. Now I'm going to get off and let you guys do what you do so well, and I'll see you on the other side.
He hasn't been my father. Since a sunny day in 1993, when he told me he had a new family.
Good. Just in time for the will reading.
Someone's invited Dad's other kids. If they even show up here, they are greedy gold diggers.
Flair and glory is the culmination of everything I have worked for. It's time to entrust it to the safekeeping of the next generation. I leave all my shares to Nina and Simon.
What?
You bitch!
Say it again.
Flair and glory is ours, and she don't get to put her foot under the table.
Are you sure you want to stay here?
We have work to do.
You're not gonna have me working in these streets.
Your father left it to you for a reason. They'll destroy that business.
You really think someone hurt him?
Things will get real ugly.
Right about that.
If they want my company, they'll have to fight me for it.
Looking down your nose, thinking you're better than everyone.
Not everyone.
That part.
Let me be clear. I'm the boss. And I decide what's Flair and glory.
Hi, team. My name is Reggie Pounder, the real critic out of Chicago. And Abby, I just want to say thank you for this. It's absolutely a beautiful, beautiful piece in so many ways. Obviously, I'd like to hear from everybody, but I'll keep it to just two people. I want to ask this question to Emmanuel and Sarah. When you looked at this script, what was it about it that made you want to be a part of it? And then when you looked at the final project, is it even close to what you envisioned?
You know what? This project was so, I've been waiting for it. And everybody, I think in the UK, I'm sure I can speak for everyone, they've been just so hungry for something like this. And I feel when it came, I almost felt like overwhelmed by it. Like when I heard about it circulating and then it was coming my way, I thought, I'm not the right person for this, for this character. I'm not the right person for the part. There's a whole plethora of actors who've come before me, female actresses who have got so much experience and should be offered this part. So, but the more I got into it, when I had the audition and then I had the recall, I was like, I want this part, I need to get it. And then talking with Abby, we had a conversation once I got the part. It was just such a celebration of a Black woman post 40s who has sexual agency, who's like survivor. She's strong, gung-ho. She's not afraid to make mistakes, burn bridges along the way, but she's trying to always recover and come back on top. And I just loved it. Loved the character. Yeah.
I'm gonna piggyback off of what Sarah said. I too am based in the UK and been doing this a little while, but I haven't been fortunate enough to be gifted a project like this. Abby's writing of these characters, they're so complex. They're four-dimensional, you know, they're beyond what we're used to receiving in the UK. And I'm telling you, I almost made a deal with the devil to give up my firstborn because I was like, yo, I need to be in something like this. I need to be in something like this, you know, and as a queer man, getting to play a queer role like this, you know, Abby is giving me permission to take up space in Hollywood. So I'm so grateful for that. That doesn't happen very frequently for queer people. It doesn't happen frequently for Black people. And then Black and queer, it's like a double baba. You know, so I'm honestly so grateful, and I'm so proud of our work. These people are so talented, and I can't wait for the world to see what we've come up with.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes, hey, this is Al McGee with YETicket.com. I'm here in South Florida. I saw the first 2 episodes of this fantastic show. The reason I find it very fantastic is because this is something I always like to see, especially with Black people in it. And my question is to Deborah and also to Sarah. Both of you young ladies are, going against each other. But when you see this script and you act like this in the episode, how do you feel that you can work with each other while you do this? Because I can just see maybe some nail biting after you finish your little scenes and things like that. So how did that go after you were done?
To be honest, I actually really love Sarah, so it's kind of hard to hate her on this. But I feel, to be honest with you, I feel like, in my experience, I feel like when you get along with your fellow actor in real life, it actually makes playing the enemy that much easier, because acting, whether you're playing enemies or whether you're playing friends or lovers or whatever, it's all about chemistry. It's all a partner dance. You know what I mean? And so I feel like that partner dance doesn't stop when you're playing enemies. You know what I mean? So for me and Sarah, I just feel like it just flowed because, like I said before, another time, she's my best friend. No, but I really, really do love her. And I just feel like, just playing with her was just so easy. It was easy, Sarah, to be honest.
I totally agree. I really felt like I've been a fan of Deborah's work anyway, full stop. And then I remember her turning up for rehearsal. She turned up. She was ready to start. And I thought, she's setting the bar. As the lead, she's setting the bar and we know where we can move. That's how and then she's such a generous actress. She's offering so much space because her commitment to the work, she wants excellent work. And that's what you need. You need someone that's committed to it and that allows you and gives you the space so we can work together. That's what's really important.
Thank you very much. I really love this show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Green with Film Critique. And I just wanted to say, I really love this show, the dynamic, the different cultures. That's one of the things that just really grabs me about the show, coming from a similar familial background. And so I had so many questions, I had to narrow it down. This question is for Deborah. I wanted to know, with coming off of a show like Them and then doing this with so many differences, how was that transition? And how do you think that there are similarities that can apply to what you're doing here, especially since they're so very different?
Firstly, something that I'm really intentional about in my career is playing characters, playing women, Black women who go from A to Z. It's not been the easiest road to kind of make sure that I don't get put in a box in that way, but it's been a road that I feel like is very, very much so worth it, because the truth of us is that we do go from A to Z. We're not just one thing. And so for me, after doing Them, I was very intentional that the next thing I do is not going to be like them, But I think that the thing that I find that is similar about Lucky, about Nina, about a lot of the characters I played, is that, or at least they show me, and I hope they show people, that to be feminine does not mean that you're somehow less strong or not strong. Like, they're not antinomous. Like, for me, I love playing beautiful, strong, feminine women who are just unapologetic about taking up space and just love the people they love and hate the people they hate, and they're imperfect and they're just, it's, for me, I know so many women like this. And unfortunately on screen, I feel like we're so underrepresented. So yeah, I just playing Nina has been amazing. It's been a breath of fresh air, you know. Doing them was a bit heavy, to be honest, and it was necessary, but it was, and I think that this show is necessary in a different way. So I just hope to continue to do necessary work, to be honest.
Jill Monroe with Access to the Life. This question is for Abby and Sarah. We have a tradition in American soaps and so forth, our Erica Kane's, our Alexis Kobe's. I feel this character falls right in line with it and sets a new standard. Can you talk to me about developing Sarah's character and what you wanted to put out in front and establish with her, in addition to her being and all of these other things, but the bitch part has to come with it, so.
No, absolutely. I grew up, my mum and my aunts watching the Gospel according to Aaron Spelling. So there was Dallas, there was Dynasty, all the Knots Landings. So I came up watching those complex women who looked incredible and had their pearls and their minks and their great hair. So absolutely, Claudia is part of that tradition. But I was really clear that beyond the trope of strong women, I'm actually much more interested in complex, some subversive women. And there is a real generational element to this show. Claudia came up at a time, as she says, you know, he told me you could be something with me. And so she made the choices she made based on the opportunities she has. And, you know, very early on in Sarah's read, it was really clear that she has that there was this kind of focus that she brought to the role that was just incredible, whereby I believed her, you know, unapologetic taking up space. But there's this incredible vulnerability. And like the further on you watch in the show, I understand that this woman will do anything for her kids. And so it was, I think, beyond those sort of big archetypal characters, it's the vulnerability, the layers that we unpeel and to find out what she's done and what she will do for her family and for love.
Hi, Carolyn. First, Here's What Happened and Carolyn Talks podcast. I love this show. And I love it not only because it's a representation of dark-skinned Black people and dark-skinned Black women of different body types. I love that I can hear the occasional West Indian accent. I'm Barbadian. So when I hear like the Jamaican accent, Trini, and I'm sure I heard a slight Bajan accent from someone at some point in time.
Sarah.
Yes, I know I heard it from you, Sarah. I was like, you were laying in the bed. I was like, that's a Bajan accent. But apart from the representation of that, I wanted to, my question is for Abby and Adeyinka. So I'm dyslexic and I have cognitive impairment. So when that revelation was made about Alicia, my heart jumped because you're literally the second person in my entire life that I've ever seen a character playing someone who's dyslexic. So Abby, can you talk about adding that into Alicia's storyline? And for you, Adeyinka, what kind of research did you do to get into the role and discussing what a person with dyslexia is like, especially how we can become overwhelmed and stress actually exacerbates the symptoms and makes it more harder for us to function. So Abby, we can go with you first.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. I think, again, going back to telling complex, rich stories about Black life, and one of the most brilliant Black women I grew up with, we both grew up in Edmonton, which is a working class neighborhood of London, and she was dyslexic and people had very little expectations of her, but we both went on to Oxford. And for me, it was about putting those people on screen whereby you're not held back by those obstacles and you circumvent them however you can. And I think that's true of the Richards. You know, the flashbacks are all about the generational obstacles they've overcome to be where they are now. And with Alicia, I just thought she's brilliant and her father didn't see it. And Adeyinka brought this vulnerability to the role and an engagement with it. And I think she just did such a brilliant job. So I will hand over to her.
Oh, thanks, Abby. Just to sort of like answer your question in terms of research, you know, I did the standard sort of like Googling and reading up and all this sort of stuff, but I actually have a close friend and colleague who is a Black woman who is actually a producer of an arts organization who is dyslexic. So I sat down with her, and obviously she was so generous with her time to sort of like talk me through what it's like being dyslexic, but also in a job where you are sort of like, you know, like I said, she's the producer, so she's making key decisions. She's having to deal with a lot of paperwork, what that also feels emotionally and how that can affect your confidence. Because I think the one thing that I love about Alicia is that she has this exterior where she is straight talking and, you know, she's very smart and clever. She's got her own business. But I think sometimes the weight of her dyslexia can make her doubt herself. And like Abby said as well, you know, Stephen, her dad, didn't see the potential that she had. And I think sometimes she questions herself. You know, she's so amazing and so successful, but she has this battle where she's like, well, maybe my dyslexia is really overwhelming and taking over from me. But yeah, I spoke to my friend and she gave me a really honest talk and chat and her experience about it. And it was just so refreshing to have a conversation with her, because I just think she's amazing. She's an incredible woman. Like Abby said, she just is absolutely smashing the organization that she works with. And you wouldn't even know that sometimes she was battling with that. So yeah, that's the sort of like research I did with Alicia and her dyslexia.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Abby, for creating this character and for giving her that form of neurodivergency, because I very much relate to it. And I can't wait to see what the response is for that, because we've never seen anything like that on screen, either from British or North American TV. So again, thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you, Carolyn.
This is from Dana, and this is for Abby. Can you talk about the importance of including colorism in the beauty industry? Was this inclusion always the intent once you decided the show would focus on the beauty industry?
Thanks, Dana. It wasn't the specific intent. I think it was going to be a family business show. It was going to be a Black family business show. So right away, it was like, what should that business be? And cosmetics and hair was a really important, you know, light bulb moment for me, because I think about those worlds and how traditionally they're incredibly lucrative, but too often Black people aren't part of the profit participation in those businesses. Similarly, Black hair is so politicized and there's so much judgment about what Black women choose to do with their hair. So choosing a Black run cosmetics and hair empire was a way to open it up to all kinds of stories about colorism, about Black ownership, about how we build generational wealth, about our judgments about what women should and can look like. So it was part of it, but definitely it was very intentional to have them do a business that could be visually very glamorous and beautiful to look at, but it would also give us a substantive layer. But, you know, the goal was never to like try and be didactic and educate people. You want them to kind of be getting those messages while, you know, snuck in between the drama, the chaos, and the family mess.
Okay, hi, it's Rhonda. My question is for Ola and Nika. Talk about what it was like to play extremely wealthy kids, especially with Ola and his many toys and being able to like be the man and pick up the tab everywhere.
It was a little bit different. I didn't grow up with a lot of wealth, so I think having the things on set, I remember seeing the car for the very first time and I was just getting really excited. I had to kind of calm myself down to get used to the car. But I don't know, I think I grew up around some friends that had wealth, and I was able to connect with that. I had a lot of friends that made me part of their family. You know, so when they had stuff, I had stuff. So I think I had a little bit of that connection. And also when you're just surrounded by the set, when you go to the houses, when you have the things around you, when, I don't know, when these things are just there, you just kind of get into it, you know? And I think the trick was not to be overtaken by it, not to be like, oh, wow, I'm wealthy, because a wealthy kid does not really think too much about it. It's just like, it's my money. If I'm going to spend 10 grand, I'm going to spend 10 grand. It's like 10 pounds to me, you know? So just taking my mentality of maybe how I would spend 10 pounds, 20 pounds, and just dial it up a little bit. Oh, do you want to buy out the bar tonight? Yeah, let's buy out the bar. That's all right. That's chicken change to me, you know? So just trying to make it natural.
I think for Wanda, I think one thing I love about Wanda is that she's very unapologetic about who she is. So she knows she comes from a place of wealth and privilege and status, but she doesn't shy away from that. Sometimes people can be quite embarrassed by their money or their wealth, but she really just leans into it. And I think it was nice to see that, because it was just sort of normalizing wealth, and normalizing wealth on the scale that it was presented to us, and normalizing it amongst black people as well, which we don't often see on screen.
Hi guys, Katya Woods here with the Philadelphia Tribune. I spoke to some of you, but Emmanuel, I want to highlight again your character, which is not the norm in any type of Black drama, to have someone who's unapologetically queer, Black, stands firm in who they are, and also has family and a support around them that isn't centering on their queerness. The issues that they have with each other is simply on character and power struggles and those types of things. Can you talk about why that is important to see, to normalize that, for lack of a better word? And I apologize for using the word normal, because there's nothing abnormal about queer people. And Abby, can you add in why it was important for you to have that person, that family member in the family dynamic? Emmanuel, if you can start, please.
Yes, I think great question. I was going to say, I think that's one of the things that makes Riches so aspirational. I can imagine a lot of my friends in Nigeria will watch this show and say, oh boy, I wish my life could be like that. You know, to be who you are and stand in it fully, stand in the sun and say, this is who I am. And then to almost step away from it and not carry it as a weight on your back and just be. That's something that's aspirational, I think, for queer people who are Black and who are of African descent, for sure. That's something that's very aspirational. And for me as a queer man, it was so nice to see. I kept looking in the script for the moment, you know, where someone was going to drag Simon and say, oh, how can you be this person, and try and shame him for loving who he has no choice in loving, you know? But Abby very much normalized it. She never put in any moments where Simon felt uncomfortable about his queerness. He even has a lovely exchange with his new sibling about something else, which could have easily been made to be about who he has chosen to love, and it isn't. And I think that's going to teach people more than anything that being queer isn't a choice, and being queer very much is something that is innately part of who you are. You know, you're born into it the same way you're born to be Black. And yeah, it's wonderful in that way. And Abby, you probably have far more to say on why you did it. But I honestly am grateful to have been given the opportunity to, as a queer man, to play this queer man and to not lean into his trauma for once.
I mean, I don't have that much more to say, because for me, it's uncontroversial. I think it is life. It is the world as I understand it. It is, and, you know, specifically within the African diaspora, there's a kind of what I suspect the sort of, when you have gay siblings or you have friends who have gay siblings, it's a kind of don't ask, don't tell, but people know, you know, and the people who love you are not making, in the world as I understand it, and maybe there is an element of aspirational, but tonally in the world as I understand it, it's your siblings love you for who you are, and that wasn't my focus. And what I loved about Simon, as written on the page, was that wasn't his story. What I really loved about him is that he is a queer man who is probably the most functional, well-adjusted of our ensemble. He's got his relationship, he's got his business, he's resolved his daddy issues, he's a confidant and a kind of conciliary figure to Nina. And in exploring that, I just thought that for the people for whom this isn't normal, then they can see that the world doesn't end because your sibling or your son or whatever is gay. And what Emmanuel brings to it is this wit, this style. And I loved when he'd ad-lib in Yoruba, because making it really specific to the diaspora, that you can be all of these things, all these facets of your personality. Not one isn't bigger or grander or more important than the other. And the aspirational level, I think, ultimately is about people who are trying to be whole. All of our characters are on this journey. And Simon, at this current point we meet him, is the most self-actualized. But you know, mess and drama follow all of them, so he'll have his time to.
Uh-oh.
Thank you, and I agree. As someone who has a queer sibling, we have never had an argument about her queerness. We've had an argument about other things. And we also know when our siblings are queer. We just wait on them.
Well, we have a lot to look forward to this season. To the cast and creatives of this fabulous show, we thank you for your time today. And to those of you who are watching, we thank you for watching this edition of AAFCA Roundtables. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for
Take
having
care,
us.
everybody.
Thank you.